This is Kristen with the Codex Station and another Codex review. And this is part 3 of Labyrinth Coronation. So if you haven't seen the first 2 parts, please stop what you're doing, watch those first, and then come back and join me here. Now, small recap, not a large one. These stories take place 300 years prior to the movie that we know and love, but is told in tandem because Jareth the Goblin King is telling the story to a baby Toby. So there's a lot of parallels between what happened 300 years ago and what is happening in the movie. Again, you do not need to have seen the movie to read these. You will still enjoy them, but it's just more of it's going to be a little spoilery for you. This review is going to be a little shorter than the other ones, not because it doesn't deserve a long review, but since we are at the penultimate conclusion, it will be super spoiler heavy. And if I tell you what happens to every single character, then you don't have anything to read or root for it. I do not want to take that away from you. So this is going to be pretty basic, pros, cons, and kind of what I thought of the series as a whole. But before we get into the nitty gritty, let's go ahead and talk about who worked on this one. So again, this is based off the Jim Henson movie Labyrinth, with characters by Brian Froud. This story was written by Simon Spurrier. I'm sorry, the story is by Simon Spurrier. This one was written by Ryan Ferrier, illustrated by Daniel Bayliss with Irene Flores, lettered by Jim Campbell, and colored by Joanne LaFuente. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are now in this ultimate epic conclusion. There's going to be this battle between what we consider good and what we consider evil. But we also have a lot of characters we have grown to love. Unfortunately, not our heroine, Maria. And I'd love to tell you that that's going to change, but it doesn't. But we'll talk about that in just 1 second. There is one character that we haven't really spoken about since the first review, and that is Maria's husband, Albert. Not a fan of Albert. Hate the fact that he looks like Jareth. Really makes me a little mad because he is not a redeeming character. In the first volume, he is the one that gave away his son and gave away his wife just in order to keep his riches. I don't want this guy to win. I don't want him to get anything. He does not deserve a happy ending. He doesn't even deserve to be in part 3, but he is. Our evil owl goblin king is going to go ahead and use him as sort of a trap for Maria. Because Maria, despite everything, still loves him. Don't know why. He doesn't deserve it, but there we go. So Maria is going to go ahead and go through all of these trials and tribulations, a lot like the movie, where we have Sarah now at the labyrinth, at the castle, going through these final steps, and then there are final character arcs for her friends. That's what we have here. It's a little bit more epic, though, because we do have a more evil Goblin King in this Owl King. We also have characters that we may never see again after this, so they have to have their own endings. So let's talk about that a little bit. Maria, still a weaker heroine. She still had that ex machina chalk. Now, what I didn't say is because it's magic chalk, it still does go down. So she does end up using all of it. So I guess it's not as, you know, the play on she could do whatever she wants, but she can until she loses it all. Does she get more strength? Is she a little less wimpy? Yes, but most of that relies on the side characters that we know. That's where the strength comes from. I don't see a lot of strength coming from her love of Albert or her love of her son. Yeah, she mentions her son every now and then, but you feel like she just really wants to get the F out of here more than save her child from the Goblin King. Albert, he gets his redemption arc. That's all I'm going to say about that. Did he redeem himself? Yeah, sure. He doesn't suck as much, but he still sucks. He doesn't deserve his redemption arc. I'm leaving it at that. No, really, I'm actually still very pissed off about this. He does not deserve anything. He doesn't even deserve the pages he's on. I really hate that character. Maria, you should have run. Or thrown him into the bog of eternal stench or something. I don't care. Just, ugh, he sucks. He really sucks. Character arcs and redemptions of the 3 characters we've grown to know and love. Sir Scoobin, who is our Hoggle. We have Tangle, who is our Ludo, and we have Sybil, who is our Sir Didymus. Do they all get satisfying redemption arcs? Absolutely. I will not tell you anything about the redemption arcs because it is going to spoil every little twist and turn of this story. Just know that they are all satisfying. They're not all happy ever afters in a way. Well, no, that's not right. They're happy ever afters, but they're fantasy happy ever afters, and they don't always happen the way that you think they will. So there's a lot of twists and turns, but these are the characters that I followed. These are the characters that I grew to love and wanted to see what would happen to them in the end. It is the only reason I stuck from volume 1 to volume 2 and now through this, and I'm glad I did. Maria was lucky to have so many characters that had such strength and such growth that it carried her whole entire story on its back. So while that is slightly annoying, I am really satisfied with the ending for all of them. Now, our evil Goblin King, the Owl King, does he get defeated? Well, why would I tell you that? That's not going to be fun. Does the baby get saved? Why would I tell you that? That's not going to be fun. Where are the parallels between this and Labyrinth? I'm not going to tell you, that wouldn't be fun. You need to read them. Sorry, I know that's annoying, but if you want a synopsis, I'm sure they exist online. I try to keep as many spoilers away as possible so that you still get some enjoyment out of these. But all of those questions are answered in this ultimate one. Why would I bring that up? Because I have read comics where sometimes those arcs are never finished. Sometimes they're left open-ended. So there is a conclusion to the story. There is an ending. Does it parallel the movie? Absolutely. There are certain art and illustrations which are amazing. So I'm going to point out one. When Sarah is falling, there is a nice little parallel of Maria falling. So there's a mirror image there. It's very effective illustration. It's very effective artwork. And they do use that a lot more in this third volume than they have in the other ones. And I think because it is supposed to be that epic ending, that epic cease of adventure, so to speak, things like that. So the illustration has been consistently effective. The lettering has been consistently effective. The coloring has been consistently effective. It's the characterizations that I have a little trouble with. Yes, Maria and Albert are heroine and her husband, but I also have an issue with characterization of Jareth. Maybe it's just because I hold the movie in too high of value, but you do see a little bit of that smugness in him. You do see a little bit of that wickedness in him, but you're missing the charm. Um, he is still sort of that good Goblin King. He is not the villain that the Owl King is. The Owl King is pure evil. Jareth is, well, I'm what you made me to be. So you want me to be a villain? I'm going to be a villain. You want me to be a sexy villain? I'm going to be a sexy villain. Whatever you need me to be is what I'm going to be because that's what's going to make these traps in the labyrinth more effective. And that's very true. It does show the ending to the movie Labyrinth. So again, if you haven't seen the movie, it's going to be very spoilerific. If you've seen the movie and be like, okay, yeah. And if you've seen the movie, you're going to see all the parallels I see. These aren't like little hidden Easter eggs at all. They're pretty obvious as long as you know the movie. You're going to be able to go, okay, I get where they're going with that. You're also going to know the ending of the baby pretty easily. You're going to know why Jareth is telling the story pretty easily. It's not a huge twist or turn. If you've been following the story along, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, it ended the way I thought it would. That's not disappointing at all. It's like, okay, I was right. But I will say the last page. The last page. I don't normally talk about the last page of a comic, but the last page shows a lot of the fantasy ending of it. I'm not going to say it wasn't satisfying. I'm going to say it was not deserved and a little tacked on. So that's my main con there. My main con is the main ending, that last page, and the ending that Maria and Albert get are not really deserved. And they seem a little rushed in comparison to our other characters where we went on that ride with them. They grew, they changed, they became heroes, or they became cowards, or they fulfilled destinies, whatever we had them do. And it was satisfying and it was deserved, and you were happy and you were rooting for them. And then everybody else is just like, yeah, no, great, disappointing. I would 110% just read a whole entire series on those three side characters. So if anyone wants to make separate comics for each of those side characters, 100%. would read them. But my rating for volume 3 is a 6 out of 10, a little bit better than average, and that is just because of the ending of those characters that I have enjoyed and for the wonderful parallels in the illustrations. So the average of all three of my scores would come out to a 6.5 out of 10. But I'm going to be generous, and I think it is deserved. I'm going to round up to a 7 out of 10 for the series as a whole. There are some disappointments. There are a lot of places where things dip and drag on, and were a little bit too long and could have been tied up a little bit neater. And then there were things that could have been a little bit better. More attention paid to Maria, more attention paid to Albert. I have no idea why she loves this jerk. He's a jerk. He's a jackass penguin. Okay. Not fun. Still, I really don't like him. If I haven't made that perfectly clear. Was I too subtle with that? I don't like him. But I don't know if that would have changed if I had known more about their backstory, more about their love story. What happened? He took a chambermaid, chose her, fell in love with her, and turned her into a countess. The only time that he was willing to let her go was when his wealth was at stake. That's why I don't like him. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve her, Albert, or your kid. Okay. So 7 out of 10 for the whole entire series. And it is a well deserved 7 out of 10. It deserved to be rounded up. If you're a fan of Labyrinth, you will probably enjoy this just fine. You might have some of the little issues that I had with it, but I think all in all, you'll find the journey enjoyable. It is a standalone story, so it is a proper beginning and a conclusion. I just wish that where the parts that dragged on during the adventure gave me more exposition into our heroine so that I could identify with her a little more. That is probably my biggest con of the whole entire story. But the pros definitely outweigh the cons here. So it was a wild ride. We got to it and I really did enjoy it. So 7 out of 10 for Labyrinth Coronation, the whole series. And in case you've forgotten, in this short period of time we've been together, I'm Kristen with the Codex Station. This has been a Codex review, and I wish the goblins would come and take you away right now.